theory does is it focuses attention on the positive things in kids' lives. It focuses attention on the risk factors. It's driven by the idea that not all kids who have some kind of risk factor end up with a bad outcome, as I mentioned earlier. It's true also for adults. We have different kinds of risk factors. Your parents may have had cardiovascular disease. You're at greater risk if you're genetically predisposed, but there are things that could be done to counteract the genetic predisposition. Well, similarly, when kids are exposed to sort of these risk factors that we're talking about, growing up in a poor context, growing up in a socially challenging context, growing up in a bullying context, that they too can overcome those factors. And resilience helps point to those factors and then helps us think about how do we enhance the positive things in kids' lives rather than just focusing on fixing what's wrong in kids' lives. And that's what's driving all the work that we do. We've basically combined these two theories. You like that little movement there? We've combined the two theories, and then we've come up with programs that focus on identity. One more push there. Identity, engaging adults with kids, and getting kids involved in community. So let me talk to you about two projects that we're doing in Flint. All of our work is centered in Flint, or most of our work is centered in Flint in Genesee County. Later you might ask me why, and there's a long answer to that. But suffice it to say that the Prevention Research Center, which is funded by the Centers for Disease Control, and the Youth Violence Prevention Center, which is also funded by the Centers for Disease Control, have funded us to do work in the city of Flint and Genesee County. And in spite of some of the work that we're doing, Flint actually obviously made it to #1, unfortunately. And on the one hand, that reinforces that we're working where it seems like most need is. However, it also suggests that maybe we need to be doing a better job. So let me tell you a little bit about Youth Empowerment Solutions. This is a program that was originally funded, again, also by the Centers for Disease Control. We were actually the only the only grantee funded by the Centers for Disease Control in their first round of this. And what we decided to do based on the work that we had done is we said, well, you know, they wanted a community-based approach. They wanted us to make community change. And my colleagues and I, Susan Morris-Samuels, Allison Grzinski, and Harry Taylor, we sat down and we talked about, well, how can we get kids involved in making change in their community? So we created a program where we do just that. But we don't assume that kids can do that on their own. So we provide some structure to them. We created an after-school program. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in some detail. We worked with, this is focused on 7th and 8th graders. So these are 12 and 13-year-old children, basically. Some of the goals, and I'm going to come back to you. We had permission to put them on a slide like this, by the way. Their parents signed off, they signed off. But these are actually the kids who were in some of the kids in one of the years of the project. They're standing in front of a mural that I'm going to talk about at the very end. So one of the first things they did, it's about youth creating change. So we basically got kids involved again in creating change. And here they are sort of at the beginning of that mural. That was the back of the building that they were just standing in front of. And of course, they're first needing to whitewash it and clean it up and that sort of thing. We also found that we had to do some adult training, that when we brought adults and kids together, it wasn't automatic that adults knew how to work with kids and give power over to kids and let kids have some control in deciding what to do and how to do it. That's a very difficult thing for all of us to do, is to give up control, but especially to a 12 and a 13-year-old. And when we talked to the kids after the first year, the first thing they told us was, wait, first of all, the adults you're having us work with are too old, so we had to go get college students. We involved some more college students, and it's like, makes us feel really good. Thanks for reminding me. Secondly, we learned that the adults didn't really know how to give up their control. So what we started doing is implementing some activities for helping the adults understand that they can work with kids, they can let go a little bit, and the kids can actually shine and do well. Then lastly, community development. One of the requirements we said, you could do anything you want, but it has to be somehow building community. It has to be somehow doing something in the community. And we gave them some ideas, and some of them just picked up on those ideas, and some of them generated some of their own projects, which I can tell you about in a little bit. So what are some of the activities we did? Well, we basically had some skills workshops. Just to give you a context, by the way, what we're talking about is kids were meeting for about 2 hours after school, twice a week, for about 15 weeks. That was the idea. So there was about 30 sessions, 2-hour sessions, and we had a curriculum, which I'm going to mention in a few minutes. But basically, they go through this program. And we developed the program from basically, as we went along, we had some of our theory that we built into the program. Then we implemented it, and we learned from the kids what else we needed to do. We incorporated some of the work from the adults, and we've finalized with a curriculum that we're now testing in a randomized controlled trial. Part of the curriculum was focusing on ethnic identity and pride. One of our colleagues in Flint teaches us about the importance of that, especially when there's many negative images and many negative messages about identity, specifically African American identity. She really suggested that we do this, and we built this into the program. They do art projects, and they discuss issues around ethnic identity. And we work mostly with African Americans, but we've expanded that to be really also just multiculturalism in general, not just specifically one ethnicity, but the idea of tolerance of of diversity, basically, and how that's beneficial, and what strength comes from learning from other people and appreciating other people. We also, again, worked with adults, where we actually did some training, specifically training with adults. And then we did some community projects. They ranged from community gardens, like you see here, the mural that you saw before. One group wanted to do a photo voice calendar, so they took pictures and made a calendar and then sold it to raise money for a local soup kitchen. They chose the printer. They chose where they would be donating the money to. Another year, or maybe it was the same year, they did an activity where they wanted to give neighborhood awards for who had the best properties, the nicest properties. And that took off so well that we had people calling our office saying, how do I get a certificate? How do I get them to come out and see my neighborhood? And then they organized a celebratory event halfway through the summer to hand out the awards. All we did really is help them find the place. And when we sort of sat down with them to show them about how to set up an agenda, they were like 5 steps ahead of us. Oh, no, this is what we're going to do. And they took the microphone and they took off with it. And that was quite good, well, quite nice. It also gave a lot of publicity for what they're doing. They create rap songs. I don't have the rap song with me right now, but it's a rap song that you'd probably get up and dance to. I mean, it would be hard. I don't know if you know, Michael Jackson's music. It's hard to just sort of sit there without tapping your foot or something. Their rap song was like that. It was really terrific. So this curriculum, as I said, has 5 units. Youth as leaders, so they learn about talking in front of each other. They learn about the roles that they play for their peers, and what it means to sort of be in the front. They learn about community and culture. That's where identity kind of comes in, but they also learn about their community and look for assets in their community, about how to make change, how to develop programs, and then there's some self-reflection about what they've done and how that's improved both their community and themselves and that sort of thing. So let me talk a little bit about the Youth Violence Prevention Center. That was a precursor to the Youth Violence Prevention Center. With that work, we had an opportunity to apply for one of 5 funded in the United States. They're called ACEs at CDC, Academic Centers for Excellence. And this is that mural that they stood in front of that you saw whitewashing, and I'm going to come back and talk about that in some length in a minute. I want to acknowledge all of the partners that we have in the Youth Violence Prevention Center, notably the Health Department. We have the Greater Flint Health Coalition, the Health Center, Hurley Medical Center, the Land Bank, I don't think I can name them all, Boys and Girls Club, U of M Flint. It's really a multi-sectoral involvement in trying to address this issue. The police, We have representatives from the mayor's office. Did I miss anybody? Dort Oak Park, G-Card, Marc Children's Health Center. We hope some of the real leaders in the community. So what we've done, this is a map of the city, and we've done a lot of work in the city. We've mapped out lots of things in the city. We do a community survey in the city, and we map out just areas of all sorts of different kinds of issues, whether it's smoking behavior, exercise, a sense of community. And we do a community survey, and we map it out. And one of the things that we've done is we've also looked at census tract data and poverty data and that sort of thing. And we've identified these two areas for the intervention that's part of the Youth Violence Prevention Center. It's the Turi Mott area, which is about 2 1/3 or 2 1/2 census tracts that we're focusing our work on. The one theory in criminology is the idea of broken windows, and that is when there is one broken window, that leads to another broken window, which leads to another broken window, which leads to the downward spiral of a community. We're trying to turn that on its head, 180 degrees, and we're saying, well, if we add a building block to a community, and another building block to a community, and another building block to a community, can we overcome or counteract by building rather than tearing down in a community? So we're basically doing a full court press, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. And then we have a comparison area up north, that's about 2 miles north in the city, that we're going to see if we're not doing the things there, if there will be a change in things like our 4 main primary outcomes in looking at this are police incidents. Police collaborate with us, and they give us their incident reports, and we can map it into the city. We identify these 2 areas because of their level of poverty and the level of assaults that occur in both these areas. We have data from the emergency departments, from all of the city emergency departments, so we'll see how many kids from our area versus the control area and other areas in the city appear with injuries into the health department. We have this community survey I told you about, so citizens who report more fear, more safety in their neighborhood, we expect that to change as well. Let's see, that was, what was there's a 4th one that's slipping my mind. Oh, and then we're going to do property assessments. We're going to go in, there's about 6,500 properties in these 2 areas. We're going to go there, and we're going to look at every single one of them. We're going to do a rating on the quality of what it looks like and what it is. And we suspect that if we do this in a sustained way and across multiple sectors, that we will see some changes in Youth Violence Prevention Center area. We also are trying to get the 911 data to see if there's fewer 911 calls in our area over time compared to the other ones. So part of the proposal included having to do work with kids on a universal level, meaning all kids, and then also high-risk kids. And then they also required us to do something at the individual level, something at the relationship level, like families, and something at the community level. So I'm going to just quickly talk about each one of these very quickly, because I know I want to try to keep you awake. The YES program, we're implementing YES in this particular area. We're working with a local community-based organization, and they're going to be working with this after-school program and implementing this and getting kids involved and engaging in the activities. We have a Fathers and Sons project that's been going on as part of the Youth Prevention Research Center that's led by Dr. Cleo Caldwell. And this is basically a program to bring non-residential fathers and their sons together, and it's to help them develop a relationship and help develop a strong relationship and help with communication. There's actually a curriculum involved in that. They also do a community project together. They learn about talking with one another and some of the issues and that sort of thing. The fathers learn that there are role models for their kids, and we're looking now at some of the outcomes that happens to the fathers where they might stop smoking because they realize that they're role modeling smoking behavior for their child. We're also looking at violent behavior and those sorts of things with their sons. Clean and Green, we're working with the land bank, and basically they have a program where they clean up empty lots. You can also adopt a lot. If you live next door to it, you can adopt the lot and eventually own it if it's an empty house and an empty lot. And so we're working with them, and they're going to do a little bit more of their attention and work in our area. They're going to do what they do normally. But we're using some of the grant money to ask them to do a little extra work in this area so we can have a little bit more work going on in our area. There's an emergency department. I'm working with Dr. Rebecca Cunningham in the emergency department at Hurley Hospital. We do counseling to kids who appear with a violent injury. It's actually built on another study that's related to alcohol use as well, but we'll focus on